Last week, things got personal on Tulsa King, as episode 8 concluded with a literally explosive finale, as the terrorist Deacon planted a bomb at a campaign event for Carl Thresher, Neil McDonough, with Margaret, Dana Delaney, unfortunately in the line of fire. Dwight, Sylvester Stallone, and Mitch, Garrett Hedlund, were able to get attendees out in time, avoiding major deaths when it exploded. It's still quite a shock for Dwight, who has rarely been given occasion to feel personally vulnerable since taking the reins in Tulsa. He takes it out on Deacon by beating information out of him before entombing him alive, so they're pretty much square. Manfredi still has to square things with Jeremiah Dunmire, Robert Patrick, Quiet Ray, James Russo, and Special Agent Musso, Kevin Pollak, but it's a good start. Episode 9 begins, as all good stories do, in Newark, New Jersey. We see a yet unnamed man, Russell Lee Washington Jr., played by Samuel L. Jackson, filling out crossword puzzles in a nondescript van, parked in a dusty parking garage. He spots a tracksuit man with pizza in hand, looking around in a paranoid fashion before ducking into the Barclay Hotel. Russell says the hotel's fire alarm has been malfunctioning, and he's there to run diagnostics. Talking his way in, Russell hacks his way into the hotel's camera system before taking the elevator up to the 5th floor, gun in hand. He lets himself in with a cloned card, rounding the corner to find his target sitting on the bed. Without missing a beat, Russell kills him, takes a slice of the man's pizza, then leaves. He returns to his base of operations, a rundown building named R&R Electrical Supply. Once settled into the shop, Russell cleans and cares for his gun before picking up an old photo of a woman with a baby, then gets a visit. It's Vincent Piazza, who tells him Quiet Ray wants an in-person meet. At the meet, it becomes clear that Russell has retired from life as an assassin, but agreed to the last job simply because it was Quiet Ray who asked. The latter wants one final job, a hit on Dwight Manfredi. He has no loyalty, and in my world, that's an il bacio della morte, meaning, kiss of death, in Italian. Russell clearly doesn't want to, looking quietly at the floor. Ain't no *kin way. Ray stands up and moves around to Russell's side, leaning over. You're acting here like you have a choice or something, when we both know that you don't. Russell gives him a mean side eye. Cue intro credits, back with Dwight and Special Agent Musso, the latter demands Deacon. You said it was low priority, Dwight replies. Musso wants to know where he is, but Dwight sternly says, doesn't matter, don't ask me that again, because he ain't coming back. He's gone forever. But before he checked out, I got everything. Dwight has a plan, continuing, everything he's ever done, what he was gonna do, his associates, everything, but before I give you all this info, I want something. Musso scoffs. What, money? Dwight, Mr. Eye on the prize, says, I want a federal liquor license. The agent asks if he's serious. I'm King dead serious, this is gonna make you a hero. He bounces with his sister, Joanne, Annabella Shora, and we cut to Montague Distiller's latest being shelved right alongside the Dunmires' offerings. Back at a distribution warehouse, Cole Dunmire, Bo Knapp, wearing a Godoffel shirt that looks like 70s motel wallpaper, angrily confronts a forklift operator backing in with a case of Dunmire booze. What the hell's going on, he asks. I don't know, man, these are returns, the employee says. It seems they've been getting dropped by distributors. Asks in surprise after Dwight tells him. The bourbon maker. Then he quotes a price of $500,000, with half paid before the work gets started. Irked, Dwight goes into the bar's back room and pulls the bills from a safe, delivering them to Deacon in a satchel. You're not a Fed, are ya? Deacon asks right before he leaves, then says he was just joking. Either way, Dwight is not amused. First off, a super quick recap of episode 5, On the Rocks, because it sets up everything for episode 6. Dwight Manfredi and his crew are finally launching their Montague distillery with that stolen, recovered, 50-year-old bourbon called the 50. The party's buzzing, Bodie and Grace nailed the PR, Bigfoot's showing off his ice sculpting skills, earning him the nickname Yeti, and even Margaret's there with Cal Thresher in tow. But of course, nothing goes smooth in Tulsa. Jeremiah Dunmire pulls a total power move by leaning on the Attorney General to send a corrupt inspector to shut things down. The inspector gets squished under falling barrels in a freak accident, thanks to Bigfoot's clumsiness, and now the crew's got a body to deal with. Dwight tells them to stage it as an accident for Bodie to discover in the morning. Meanwhile, Dwight's secretly picking up a bomb from the watchmaker, aka Deacon, the explosives expert, to hit back at Jeremiah for burning down his wind farm earlier in the season. Then, the party crashes hard when Jeremiah shows up with his posse, the AG, and some sheriffs. They destroy a barrel of the precious bourbon, brag about ruining Dwight's rep, and walk out like they own the place. Tensions peak when Bill Bevilacqua confronts Dwight about shady dealings and suspicions of betrayal. Dwight pulls a gun on him, but Bill calls his bluff and leaves, only to get swarmed and arrested by federal agents at a stoplight. Boom, episode ends on that cliffhanger. On screen, key images or text bullets of recap points. Now, what can we expect in episode 6? Tack. Let's break it down scene by scene, no holding back. Spoiler alert, this EP's all about loyalty tests, a brutal ambush, and Dwight facing his past in the most OG way possible. The episode builds to Dwight cornered in an abandoned oil rig, Jeremiah and Cole closing in, Musso's feds circling like vultures. Dwight's bleeding out, flashing back to his prison days with Pops, the OG reference. He calls in a favor from an unlikely ally, Bill Brewer, who hates Jeremiah more. Boom, a hail of gunfire from Brewer's boys turns the tide. But the real gut punch? Tina walks in on Dwight mid-deal, gun in hand, and whispers, "It's over." Does she pull the trigger? Trailer cuts to black on her finger trembling. She doesn't shoot, it's a fake-out to force Dwight legit. But Cole escapes, setting up episode 4's manhunt. This ending screams, family first, forcing the general to evolve or die. Jeremiah made it clear in the premiere that he was going to be an obstacle, burning down Theo's country manse, with him in it, as revenge for selling his distillery to Dwight. And in the true manner of someone used to having things their way, Jeremiah isn't subtle about who was to blame. His goons brag about it in public. He and Cole show up at Theo's funeral. The whole thing's a theatrical message to Dwight, a way to compel him to take the money, 3 times what he paid, that Jeremiah is offering for the distillery. But Dwight doesn't take kindly to threats, and he's no fool either. If Jeremiah is offering that much for a distillery that hasn't turned a profit in years, there has to be a reason. The clues in the title, the 50. Cleo reveals that Theo was sitting on a batch of 5-decade-old vintage bourbon that can fill 250 bottles at thousands of dollars a pop. Jeremiah knew it existed, but not where. It's the profit payload that Dwight needs to justify the risks associated with the booze business, and it's a compelling enough fortune to sway Bill to get in on the action to help with distribution. Even Cal Thresher, now a gubernatorial candidate, is reluctantly in Dwight's pocket, there to smooth over any complications with a few political favors should the need arise. That it feels like a win, but is it really? Tulsa King Season 3, Episode 2 reintroduces all of these key players but makes it very clear that they can't be relied upon. Bill is still on conspiratorial terms with Vince back in New York, whose takeover of the Invernizzi family seems to have backfired, and Cal would just as soon have Dwight killed as work with him. And everyone seems to know